There are millionaires and billionaires paying half that.
Yep.
Now, granted, they're paying more taxes than I am, but still, percentage-wise, why should they be paying the same percent that I am?
That's why they say if there's a 999, that would have just killed the rich people.
Yeah, but what killed the pizza man was his roving eye.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that any kind of tax like that would kill the... anytime there's a flat tax, there's not going to be any kind of exemptions, and it's going to hurt people. It's going to hurt the rich.
Well, I mean, the day that they do away with the tax write-off for your mortgage, the interest that you pay on your mortgage and the taxes that you pay in your community, people are no longer going to buy homes. We're going to become a country of renters. Everybody's going to rent because what do you need the headache of a house?
Well,
who's going to want to buy a house?
You don't necessarily have to get rid of that tax. You can get rid of the tax and you lower the rates completely. Yeah, it's flat 10% tax across the country. I think you would do better. You'd collect more money than we are now.
Well,
it's just...
Who knows what the future holds? But I know our future, ladies and gentlemen, says we've been on the air for just about 31 or 32 minutes, and Felix and I are starting to breathe rather heavily here.
I'm beginning to think that people really are not paying much attention to Ebola.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I thought it was a pretty catchy topic,
Yeah.
Coming to a hospital near you, Ebola.
Yeah, it was catchy. I liked it, yeah. No, but I think Ebola is probably not the most... Or maybe it's over-talked already. People are tired of just talking about it.
Well, people just don't know what to believe anymore, like you said before. At first we were told not to worry, it's not coming to the shores. But nobody thought about, what about people coming from the infected areas to this country who might be carrying Ebola, which is what happened with Thomas Duncan.
Mm-hmm. He came here to get married.
He came here to get married, a joyous occasion. And he goes to the hospital, and he's got 103, and they send him home, which really is not unusual, because according to the CDC, initially, Ebola sounds very much like flu symptoms. But still, he came over. Ebola had already been mentioned. It's not like it was out of the blue. And he came from a country where they, checked off that they were worried about people coming over with the possibilities of carrying the Ebola virus. And now we have the first, person-to-person contact, the spread of Ebola in this country.
I don't know. Doesn't sound good. Now, I heard quite a few doctors, and most doctors do agree on one thing, that most Americans will never have to worry about it. And this is from either side.
Well, it's true. But, I mean...
But
what's to prevent somebody who becomes exposed without realizing it in Texas, like that nurse? Suppose she didn't contract Ebola right away, and suppose she was visiting relatives in South Carolina or in Florida or in California, okay? And the 21-day incubation period is over, and then she finally comes down with it, and who knows who she could spread it to?
No, do you spread it during the incubation period?
No. It takes 21 days, they said, for the virus to, build up in your system or show any signs. You may feel weak in the stomach. You may.
I know, but do you spread it? That's the
No,
question.
no, I said no. It's not until the 21. That's why I said when it comes to the Ebola bomb on ISIS, I said, the only thing is ISIS will carry they'll spread it to each other for 21 days. They'll wait for the 21 days to be up, and then they'll start dropping like flies.
Well, first thing, I don't know. I haven't heard that you can't catch it before, and I don't know. I'm sure.
No,
you're
they
right.
did. They did say that because what they said was when Thomas Duncan was airborne, okay, on his flight from Nigeria or wherever, he started out in Nigeria. It wasn't nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line was they said that no one on that flight could catch it from him because it was incubating in his system, okay, the Ebola virus. And he only started to show the symptoms when he landed in Texas a day or so later.
Is that why they're following all 41 passengers still?
Well, they have to be careful, yes. And they said so far none of the passengers have shown any signs of anything.
I understand that, but obviously they're not sure of it themselves because we're following all these people.
Well, the 41 people were not
whatever
necessarily
numbers
passengers. They were family members that they were following.
No, passengers we're talking about.
Well, but they were following family members.
I know, but
as
off
well.
the plane there were 41 people. I believe that they figured out were in close contact to him, and they're following all of those. Even though I'm sure the time's getting near where the 21 days are up.
Well, I don't know, Felix. I know that 2 days a week for 2.5 to 3 hours, we're in pretty close proximity. How do I know you don't have it? You're in the air freight business. I don't know what you are transporting.
Well, we specialize in freight from
Third world countries,
Liberia.
huh? Yeah.
Anyway, Mark, if we don't get a call in 5 minutes, I think we're going to call this show quits.
Hey, you sound like me. That's usually my line with you. Well, if that's the case,
how much can you talk about a subject that's so depressing?
Well, then I think we should spend, if we're going to spend 5 or 10 minutes more, I think we should spend it on discussing the elections because that's what we'll sign off with. We'll leave people with a positive feeling. I know when I was teaching, I used to tell my students that, because they, like their parents, would always say, well, it's not an important election. Well, the thing is, every election is important. If you're electing state representatives to the state legislature up in Albany, if that's where you live in New York, or, if you're in California and you're talking about state legislators that you're going to send to Sacramento, and in Florida you're sending them to Tallahassee. The bottom line is these are people who have the most effect on your life.
And eventually, by the Peter principle, if they're really bad, they'll keep moving up and moving to the Senate.
That's right.
So
they'll be rewarded.
So
I mean, that's what American politics is all about. What's your favorite line, Felix?
What's my favorite line?
90%. We have such a Congress that has a 10% approval rating, but 90% of them are going to be sent back.
Absolutely, every time. And that's because of everybody saying, my vote really doesn't count. Enough people say that, then the vote really doesn't count.
Just think, why on earth did we break away from Britain back in the 1700s when we were just colonies, okay? Taxation without representation, okay? We had no say. The very tea, before they dumped it in Boston Harbor, the very tea that we made here was taxed, sent to England, and that very tea was sent back to us, and we were charged twice. Okay, that's what it was. And that's why they dumped it in Boston Harbor. I think we'd like to dump some of the Tea Party in Boston Harbor if possible,
No.
Well, the point is, Felix, let's be honest. since the advent of the Tea Party, there has been absolutely no reaching across the aisle. These people have been adamant about disrupting government. The moderates that remain, if there are any, in Congress and in the Senate are forced to espouse Tea Party rhetoric and back Tea Party ideals, because the Tea Party looks at them and says, well, if you're not going to back us, we have somebody who's waiting to take your job.
Well, that means more people are voting for Tea Party types than anything else, if that's what you're saying. So that's the people.
I mean, it's been proven now that if Mitt Romney was running, and you know this because you're happy about this, if the election was held today, Mitt Romney would have won. All right? But the bottom line is, Mitt Romney ran on a platform that was totally alien to him. Mitt Romney had always been a middle-of-the-road Republican, and he was forced to adopt Tea Party leanings. And by the way, folks, that's the first train going by now.
Well, nobody can hear it anyway.
I know. I just figured I'd let them know, you know. But, and that's why, strangely enough, Mitt Romney is thinking about a third run for president.
Well, I didn't vote for him the first two times or whatever, and I'm not going to vote for him this time. I don't like the man.
Well, I don't either. And I think if it's going to be Hillary, I think, in fact, Hillary is as much of a hawk as some Republicans when it comes to, the military and war, which really doesn't sit well with me, but I do believe in, that she would get the country going on the right track. But, ladies and gentlemen...
I don't think so.
Well,
let me just say something. You've got... ISIS is causing more of a crisis now as we're bombing. They're just moving along. We're not doing anything to
we're
stop
not slowing them down.
Not at all. And why? Because the president said we're not going to put any boots on the ground. He shouldn't have said anything. All she would say is we're going to do what we have to do.
I think he was worried about backlash in Congress, okay, because a lot of the Democrats and some Republicans, believe it or not, were not all that thrilled about sending troops, putting troops on the ground again.
You never give away your hand to your enemies.
I agree. And you know something? I have a feeling that if Hillary becomes president, she wouldn't think twice about putting boots on the ground if it's necessary.
I think we're going to see boots on the ground within the next 6 months.
Hey, look,
that's my prediction.
I think you are probably right. But in the Democratic Party, you also have, don't forget, Joe Biden. Joe Biden has so much experience in foreign affairs. Okay, he's been an excellent hands-on vice president. Maybe not like Dick Cheney, who ran the presidency for 8 years when George W. Bush was president, between him and Rumsfeld, but the fact remains that I think Joe Biden would make an admirable president. I think Jeb Bush in the Republican Party would be a pretty good run-of-the-mill, middle-of-the-road president, to show you that I'm not totally all Democratic, but remains to be seen. These next few months are going to be able to tell. I mean, Hillary says she's not making up her mind until after the new year, okay, which only gives us about 4 months, really. And then if she says no, then you'll see a wide-open Democratic Party. Okay? I think support will swing behind Joe Biden. And like I said, I think he would make an admirable president, very knowledgeable, worldly.